Hello and welcome to Heiner Builds Your Ride. Today from very sunny Perth in WA, Australia, right next to the Indian Ocean. We've got another Troopy today. This is a sandy Taupe Troopy, as about 50% of them are. Still is my favorite color though. But before I get into all the detail, let's roll the intro. This Troopy here is already the newer version. You have got an anti-collision system in here, camera up the top there. So when installing things on these newer Landcruisers, it's very important that nothing is right in front of this sensor here, because this is a radar sensor. So you can see the spotties are quite far on the outside, so we're not interfering with anything. And then we've got daytime running lights right here. They are the Hella daytime running lights, and the way we wire them is if you turn ignition on, they turn on, and as soon as we've got low beams on, they will turn off, and then if you turn on high beams, they turn back on. It's not like you see massive amount more, but you can, so we just use it like that. And we've also installed a winch here to the factory Toyota bar. This winch didn't fit in there perfectly because the customer wanted a very particular winch in here. So John has helped us out, and he actually made a massively solid winch plate, which you can see underneath here. That is 10mm steel that is mounted to the bull bar, and then the winch is mounted to this thick piece of metal, so nothing should budge there. Under the bonnet, we have got the usual suspects. Excuse me. What we've done is we've relocated the accessory fuse box that you usually find over there, where we now have got our Get Home Safe battery. We relocate these accessory fuse boxes, which are great product from Toyota, and we've made a bracket here so that we can relocate it to this side, right next to the other accessory fuse box that Toyota puts into these. And this customer has already got a upgraded brake booster, which is a great idea. We've put the 250 amp Endura alternator right down there, and then we've used our pre-made wiring kit, the alternator upgrade kit for the 70 series, with a fuse holder here, that's a mega fuse holder, and the bracket that we've made so you can just bolt that straight in. And everything is running back to battery positive of the start battery. Also the winch, which we've connected through a 300 amp heavy duty mechanical winch isolator. These are usually used for trucks, so you can run 300 amp through there all day, every day, and up to 2000 amps intermittently. So this is not gonna fry out, unlike all these cheap plastic winch isolators you can buy, which I highly recommend never to use, because once you winch with them for a little bit longer, they get so hot that the plastic melts, pushes the contacts apart, and your winch stops to work. So if you got one of them, throw them in the bin and put a proper isolator in there like this here. And don't go lower than 300 amp. What you can see is we've also got our extra battery terminals on here, the two up. So we haven't just got one stud on there, we've actually got two. So we can fit all our stuff on there. And then we've got the twin MIDI fuse holder here for the driving lights and for the power supply to the rear installation. And we use our fabrication brackets here for the MIDI fuse holder, so we can add these to the battery clamp. And then of course we've got the Get Home Safe kit there. So this battery here is purely just a backup battery with thick 50mm square or 0 BNS cable, where it links to battery negative, and then through the Redarc SBI12 smart solenoid down here, battery positive goes to the solenoid and then back to battery positive. So everything runs back to this point. Also the winch. The cool thing about that is you've got a switch in the cab that you can use and turn on just in case you flattened your start battery for whatever reason. You might have left something on, you can't start, you press the button, you link that battery to this battery, you can start yourself off this battery. That's use case number one. Use case number two is your alternator fails somewhere in the bush, and you need a lot of time to get back to civilization. So you press the link button, you got two batteries to keep driving off, which will, instead of 3-4 driving hours, you easily get 6 to 8 driving hours. And that's use case number two. Use case number three is you want to use your winch, and the winch takes a fair bit of power. So if you just run off one battery, the voltage drops really quickly and the winch hasn't got the full power that it should be having. So in here you can see the winch is going to this point where also the alternator feeds into, where the second battery feeds into. So it means when the winch is running, it can run off this battery. At the same time, it runs off that battery when you got that button pressed in. And it also runs off the 250 amp alternator. So I usually recommend put your car into high idle. It's just a button that you press. It sits at 1200 RPM. And that way you've got 3 power sources that will feed your winch. That means the voltage doesn't drop as far and the winch will have more power. That to me is the best setup that you can build for a winch setup. All right. Of course, we've got the aerial here as well for the GME XRS 370 two-way radio, which is installed in the dash. And I think I'm going to close this now so I can show you a few other things on this car. This has got the headspace roof conversion, which is quite a nice conversion. It sets itself apart from the other conversions because these guys are actually using the roof skin that they cut off to put on their tent, and this tent is a lot taller than all the other tents on the market. So you can probably have a trampoline in there and jump up and down once it's like that. Of course, we've got the Mission 4x4 tracks table on the side. There aren't any max tracks in there yet, but in case you don't know these, they are very nice. You've got a table here, and when you fold them back up, you can have your max tracks here. I love it. Dual use for things is absolutely essential, I think. Then there's a drop-down table here from Front Runner. This here, if I'm not mistaken, that must be Front Runner as well. Sean does something similar, but doesn't have a rubber band in there. And then in the back here, let's start there. We've got our Lazerlamps Utility 25 work light with the switch in the dash, in the PVS switch dash panel, and we've got a national lunar light on either side. These are quite cool because they can be dimmed in 3 different settings, and you can change them in between white and orange, as you can see here. It's a bit hard to see because it's really bright here at the moment and hot. This is not fully set up yet, but you've got a drawer right here, and underneath it you will have an induction cooker and a little table that you can slide out, and you got a 15 amp power point here that's connected to a 3 kVA Multiplus inverter charger, so you can easily do induction cooking on the back of the car. The customer also asked us to put some USB charging points in here so you can just have your phone charging. And then you have got a water outlet here where you've got 2 different water pumps from 2 different tanks feeding into this. This setup is a little bit different because this customer has got 2 water tanks underneath the car. They're both drink water tanks and they can feed to all the outputs. You just change the pumps. And then you've got a Bushman 85 liter upright fridge with a little freezer compartment. And very cool on the inside here, so inside here you can see how much space there is. I can jump up and down. I wouldn't be able to reach the top there. That's how tall this tent is. Also, there's a fridge freezer from Dometic in here. I like these. I like the, even though it's a plastic housing, I've always had a soft spot for Dometic fridges. I don't know why, but they just appear to me. Also here, this is what we call the interface. So you've got 4 USB charge points here. You got 2 240 volt 10 amp outlets here. On top here, we have got a flexi light that can be turned on in white and red. They are from Hella, and I'm using them a lot myself in my setups, and we are installing them more and more into customer setups as well, just because they're so versatile. You can have light everywhere. They're really good as a night light as well. So if you just have them on red, what I usually do in the camper, I leave them on at night, because if you get up, you can always see where you're going. You straight away, you know, because sometimes I forget that I'm in a camper, I wake up and get spooked a little bit. I'm not sure if that happens to you as well. And next thing is, this is not a Touch 50, this is a Touch 70 screen. So this is a little bit bigger. It does exactly the same thing, but it's bigger. You know how it goes. Bigger is usually better. Everybody loves something a little bit bigger. You can monitor both tanks in here. They're both freshwater tanks. And we've put some WEMA water level senders into the tanks, and the Cerbo GX unit that is connected to that reads the tank levels. I can turn on the inverter right here. You hear click. That was it. There was a little click in the background, means now the power points are live. And you can see in here now that this has changed to inverting. And you can see the control buttons on the inverter as well. It shows that we've got 18 watt of AC loads, which is not true. It's just what the inverter uses to be running. So if you want to now heat up your water with 240 volt, because the water heater is down here, I will turn the power point on, if I can get to it, and you will see that the AC loads will increase in a minute. There you go. And now we're drawing in almost 1000 watts into the water heater, which is roughly 80 amp that we're now pumping into the water heater. It's got the 10 liter Duoetto water heater down here, and you can run it on 12 volt and on 240 volt. The beauty is on 240 volt, because the heating element on 240 volt is about 1000 watt and the heating element on 12 volt is only 300 watt, it heats up 3 times faster. So if you want to boost your water, you can just turn the 240 on it. As you can see, water heater is right there and our pumps are just there. That is the Deconstructed water hub system. Close that again, and you can also see this is your battery. You can see your state of charge. You can see the wattage either going in or out. At the moment we've got 73 watts going out, which is equivalent to 5.5 amp, and it's going into the DC system. This unit doesn't have a separate solar regulator connected anywhere, so you can't see any solar. Whoops, because the customer didn't want any roof solar installed. If I start the vehicle's engine now, I use the idle up button, so the alternator, instead of running on 550 RPM, which is not enough, is now running on 1200 RPM. And you see we're getting about 65 amp out of our DC-DC chargers. We got a Redarc 1240 and a Redarc 1225 core in here. The extra 5 amp is what is still running to the fridges, but we're getting 65 amp of charge into the batteries here. This has got a 400 amp hour battery bank, which means with this charge current, it will take roughly 6 hours for a complete recharge when you're running the engine. I'll turn that back off because the two-way has turned on at the same time. There's a lot of annoying people on that channel number 4 here in Australia. In terms of the outfit that Toby has done, this is a Odyssey custom outfit. So we got storage space in here, more storage space in there, and then I really like that, a table that comes out so you can eat or work on here. Soft closing. A drawer in here and another drawer down here. So there is plenty of storage space. Then you've got your water system in there that you've seen before. There's another little storage hatch here. We have got plenty of big storage space in here. So we've got our 300 watt KT solar blanket in here, Sirocco fan. The way we usually do these Sirocco fans is we don't mount them somewhere, but we put Velcro on there. Some customers put magnets on them as well. And then we haven't got one here, but we've got an Anderson plug outlet there. And we've got another Anderson plug outlet in the tent. So you just plug them in where you need them. So if you want to sit outside under your awning, you can take your fan with you, put it on the table, lie it somewhere where it works, and actually get some nice air breeze going. See, there's a bit more storage access there, so you don't have to pull the drawer out all the way. Little secret hideaway spot. And then even more, hard to see now, right back here. So Toby does make sure that every little tiny spot is being used for storage. He just likes to perfectionize, whatever the word is, things, just as much as we do over here. And you can have this as a bed, so this can pull out, hook in here, and you've got a bed for stealth sleeping as well, just in case you don't want to set up the tent and don't want to get found by the ranger because you got drunk at the pub and want to spend the night in the car park. This is pretty good for it. On this side here, we've got the Mission 4x4 gull wing. In my opinion, one of the best gull wings that is out there. And you can see there's a little National Lunar Light here as well. We can change that to orange, just in case we want to shower in the dark without the bugs around. And then you've got a water outlet here. You have also got access to both pump circuits and you can adjust your water temperature right here. So the trick is, this is an automatic mixing valve. So if you set that to 38 degrees, it will take the 70-degree hot water out of the water heater, mix it with the right amount of cold water and give you 38-degree warm water. Now, as you pump cold water into the hot water system, that temperature drops. And this automatically compensates by mixing more hot with less cold, so you get your constant 38 or 34 or whatever you set that to. That way, you're not wasting water readjusting the temperature, because otherwise you probably easily lose a liter or two just by adjusting temperature as you go along. So that mixing valve takes care of that. It's also really comfortable, and quite honestly, I wish I had that at home. All right, let's get to Reese's masterpiece in here, because he has outdone himself on this installation. In the dash here, we've got the GME XRS 370 two-way radio handpiece, which we install with RJ45 pass-through, so that you can just take that away, put it in the glove box, and when you want to use it, plug it in. We usually don't mount these because some customers don't like it and other customers want them in different spots, so we just leave it to each individual to mount them where they find it's the right spot. We can turn the water heater on from here. So this is the 12-volt side of the water heater. You can turn on from the dash. So while you drive along and you think, hold on a sec, it's about an hour or two to camp, I'd like a shower later on with hot water. While you're driving, you can turn the water heater on so that the water heats up while you drive. So you don't have to use any battery. You can just use the power coming from the alternator through the DC-DC chargers and charge up your water. We've also got our ARB twin piston air compressor that's installed in the back. You can turn that on and off from here. Then the work light at the back and the battery link switch, so you can jump start yourself or winch. That is the switch for it. And then behind the seat here, we have got, as per usual, our Egon DC hub, the point where everything interconnects. We also put a charge port in here, USB charge port, and then our 240 volt RCDs are in here. And back there, we've got our Victron Multiplus 3 kVA. And this is the shore power input for it. This customer preferred to have this done on the inside. And then behind here, this is where all the magic happens. So we have used this panel that we've now started to make ourselves, so that we can put two DC-DC chargers into the side panel and just gain that little bit of extra space in here. And then we've got two 200 amp hour lithium batteries, our battery hold down clamp, a 4-bay mega fuse holder, which has got the DC-DC chargers connected to it, the DC hub, and the Multiplus inverter charger. And here we've got our Victron Smartshunt and the Cerbo GX unit back there where everything interconnects to, which is the brains of the operation. Over here we have got a junction box where the multi-core cables all interface with each other, which keeps all of this nicely accessible, and at the same time you've got a really good overview about what's going on in here. This is how big this tent is. Look at it. I can almost stand in here. It's probably that much missing, so you easily have 1.80 meter height in here. Another thing we've done in the tent is we have got an Anderson plug connector here for the fan, USB charge ports, and the flexible header lights in red and white as reading lights. So when you're lying in here, you can read a book. We got the same thing on this side, minus the fan connector. Jesus, it's getting hot. Let's get out of here. There's just two more things to mention now. A, of course we put the USBs on the side of the dash, on the passenger side, and over here also on the driver's side. And the last thing to mention, of course, this thing gets our patch of approval this is now officially ready to drive anywhere. Thanks and see you for the next one.